Hi, my name is Gina Sullivan, and I currently teach math, special ed, 7th and 8th grade at Liberty Middle School, New York. So today I'm going to be discussing with you guys curriculum designs, and sometimes I'm going to refer back to special education just because that's my discipline. But if you need ideas to brainstorm in your discipline, then I can help you. So really we're going to be talking about the product model. So with the product model, we're still going to have clear learning objectives. The difference is the learning objectives, the whole class ideally should be meeting by the end of the lesson. So if admin comes in and they see one learning target, they're going to assume that everybody is going to be working towards the same skill. The content delivery, so same thing also, where it might be one teacher up here just giving notes or explaining something to the whole class. There's not really much differentiated. And the outcome, so really looking at the student performance, so it's still a formative assessment compared to what we're going to be learning about with a summative assessment. And like everything, there's positives and negatives, so I do want to say that while you're watching the video, if you come across a disadvantage or you're thinking that's a good idea, but it's not going to work because, then just jot it down so that you can ask later. And this is a room of people that we can all brainstorm and come up with some solutions for you if you really want to try to implement something in your classroom. So the components of a process model. So a process model has flexible goals. So the learning target or the objectives are going to be more scaffold or more differentiated between what skill does the students need to learn. So I teach math, so one-step equations or multi-step equations. Say we're doing multi-step, but I have kids that can't do one-step. I might have a one-step equation learning goal, a two-step, and a multi-step, and then have them in different stations. What's also nice is that while they're doing this, they can explore how they want to learn. So they can be looking, and in their, say in their station, they could be exploring, I don't know, it could be an example, it could be quarters. How many quarters, and then we can say, well, we don't know how many, but we know a quarter's worth 25, so we don't know how many, so that's our variable. So let's say Q is our variable, and just coming up with hands-on things or real-life experiences. And actually, okay, so learning theories for the process. So there are a lot of learning theories, but I picked constructivism. So I picked this one because it really helps the students start to build knowledge off of their own knowledge, if that kind of makes sense, of their own understanding. So we see this a lot in science. In New York, they change standards. So in science class, they might get given a microscope. They might not have any idea how to use it or what it even does, but they're given time to explore it. They can turn the light on, they can move the stage up and down, they can make inferences and conclusions to what this thing even is, and then they get to hear a little bit about it. So now they're open to learning more because they're hearing, one, if they're right or wrong, because everything's kind of a game, right? And then two, they're also comparing, like, oh, okay, I really didn't think it would show me things lit up. I thought it was going to show me through things like an x-ray machine, and then you could start, no, that's an x-ray machine, but that we could use when we're looking at our bones, but right now we're going to look at our skin. And then you can use it and implement it into our teachable moments. And it really just transforms the whole learning environment. The students are on board, you're on board. So some advantages of the process model. So the process model is, it's like I have a picture of a highway, right? With all these different ways that you could take. So the students are our cars, and they're from A to B, but they might all take different routes. Some might take the highway, some might take the back road, some might try to take a shortcut, some might speed. So there's all these different avenues on how you can get to the same learning target, or how are you going to achieve this. So really it's a personalized instruction, which is really in a special education, that's what we're trying to go for. And that being personalized, they're choosing how they want to do it. They have a choice board maybe on working on that skill, but how they work on that skill. So it's tailored to what they need so that they're going to understand. And then if they're engaged, they're still going to be challenged. So they're still going to be learning and establishing lifelong goals, such as skills needed, like critical thinking, problem solving. Obviously there's disadvantages, like I said already, to everything. So I do this a lot in my classroom actually, and I have a TA and he says sometimes like, it's chaotic. And yes, so there's a lack of structure. I'm personally trying to organize myself a little bit more with this, so that it's more fluid, but I think it's more of just me adapting and the students adapting, and then them coming in and knowing their expectations. It does take a huge time commitment. You know, it's not just, oh, this is what we're doing today. It's me going and putting down different groups and their learning targets and what are they expected to do that day, and then popping around. And you never know how it's going to turn out, so that's always interesting, the outcome. Is a kid going to work? Is the kid going to still be against it? And I'm, say this all the time, I'm not a cookie cutter person, so I like to take things and blend them. So blending them, you're still having an objective, and then you're facilitating different experiences, so it's still student activities. And then assessing learning. So we talked about formative assessments, and now there's summative assessments. Summative assessments are looking at a class as a whole, and how did they do? So how did this one student do versus the whole class? Did the whole class not understand, where I have to go back and completely revamp? So it's more of a reflective piece for me to know that they hit mastery. And this is my role as a special education teacher. So I personalize, I collaborate with my co-teachers, I collaborate with other teachers in different disciplines. I'm constantly adapting, even in the moment, and supporting and scaffolding down to what they need. So all of this takes a lot of practice. So if you're a first-time teacher and you're hearing this, it's really overwhelming sounding, but it'll become natural. And implementing the process and the product model. So really everything, you need to identify the interests of the students. If you get them engaged, you get them making choices, they're gonna facilitate with you, you guys are gonna explore, you're gonna learn, and they'll be able to reflect, and you'll be able to reflect. And then, like I said, the formative versus summative assessment, and bridging the gap. So this happens a lot, especially with special education students. So you're bridging the gap between the models, and basically at the end of the day, as long as they're meeting their skills that they needed to learn and they're becoming successful and they're engaged, just scaffold down to wherever they need and get them up. And that is it. So like I said, I use both of the models blended. Right now in one of my classes, I'm really doing the process model, which is very tricky, but I'm seeing a lot of success, so happy with it. And we're doing it with levels, so the students are doing algebra and they don't go up unless they master the skill before, and they have different activities to do around it. So, and that's it. And then my references are behind me. But if you want, the PowerPoint will also be emailed, so you can look. Thank you.